So back in the mid-2000s when I was at college, there was something that I used to love doing between classes, and that was playing indie games on the demo discs that came with the PC Gamer magazine. I found so many amazing games back in the day thanks to those discs, and today, Super Rare Games have kind of come up with a modern equivalent of that. It's called the Indie Games Mixtape, and it comes on this really nice looking cassette here, but it's not actually a cassette, it's actually a USB stick, and included on this USB stick are 30 amazing indie games as well as some demos for upcoming releases. So as you can tell, I absolutely love the idea behind this game, and that idea came from my friend Ryan Brown, and what better way to explain it than to actually get him on the show to tell you guys all about it. This video is sponsored by Bifrost Bridge Studios. Like I mentioned in the last video, there's a new Valhalla tier over on Patreon, so if you're enjoying what you're seeing so far from Gaia's Seed and you want to play a bigger role in the story, you can go and join on that tier and actually send in suggestions, as well as you or someone that you love featuring in the story as well. So definitely go and check them out on Patreon. So without further ado, here's Ryan to tell you everything you need to know about Super Rare Games Mixtape Volume 1.
Hello, I'm Ryan Brown. I'm the head of saying stuff at Super Rare Games, which is basically a really fancy way of saying that I'm the head of marketing and social media. So Super Rare Games is a publisher of physical games, especially indie games. And for me personally, like that is just a perfect gel of sort of everything that matters to me. Even before I started at Super Rare Games, my focus when I was a journalist was physical stuff, preservation, indie games. And so that all just gels really well working at Super Rare, because that's everything that's here. That's how I ended up here. Yeah, so I've been into indie games for about like 15 to 20 years, a very long time. So before they were even commercialized, like before most people knew what indie games were. And I've always said that some of the most unique ideas in the world of gaming comes from indie games, even free indie games. And so yeah, I've literally been interested in that scene for a long time. The idea for this mixtape is something I wanted to do that my friends remember me talking about wanting to do for 10 years. I mean, it's very much a passion project. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I'm so glad you finally managed to make it.
Me too. I never thought it would.
Yeah, and how does it feel to see people holding it in their hands now that it's actually out in the wild as well? That must be great.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's mad, and like, you know, the process has been so quick that I've already got enough games for volume 2 and 3, basically. So like it's really, you know, it's really going ahead, and it's surreal because for about 10 years it has been almost exactly like how I wanted it to be, the final product. It was always going to be called mixtape. It wasn't going to be called Super Rare necessarily, but it was always going to be called mixtape. It was always going to be like a collection of like 30 completely varied games. It was always going to be in a tape cassette shape. So it's astounding, and I'm very pleased that people like it.
There's a big age range of games on this collection from all different years. How did you kind of pick which games to put in this set?
Yeah, so I mean it's very varied by design. Like that's intentional. Like it's not just random that, oh, these are all different sorts of games. I knew that this had to appeal to a wide range of people. So yeah, I knew that, for example, I want one platformer, like I want one Game Boy style game, I want a retro FPS, I want a visual novel. And so that was all very intentional, like pitching for very specific genres, very specific art styles. I mean, Stellar Nexus is on there, because I was like, oh, I need a space epic. I need one big space epic game.
Yeah, that was a really cool game.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, so it was just, that was all by design. And if I ended up getting sort of games which were like too similar, then I sort of held them back for other volumes. Because hopefully going forward for future ones, it's always going to be varied. I sort of like the idea of, I'm probably the only person in the world that's going to like all 30. But there will always be a bunch of them that anyone would like. And some might like the more Game Boy style ones. And yeah, I think, yeah. I just like Game Boy ones. I figured, yeah. I'd like to see that Falafel game.
Yeah, that was probably my favourite one, actually, that Falafel one. And that's quite an old one as well, isn't it? That's from like 2009 or something?
Yeah. The original release was like, 2000, 2008, 2009, something like that. And I played that when it first came out. And that one, even by the indie scene, has largely just been forgotten. Like some of the ones on that mixtape, like No Players Online, Emily's Away, have a following. But that one, even in the small scene, has been forgotten. He was very surprised that I reached out. But that game has always stuck out to me. It always has. And yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm so happy that I have a physical copy of it. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I bet you are. Everyone who's got their games on this is so happy about it as well.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just the sort of thing that I can't imagine the developers ever would have thought that they'd have a physical copy of it. Pretty much every developer I spoke to was like, got the idea, was excited by the idea. I mean, most of these developers, except from a few on the first volume, which was already sort of semi-famous online, although the developers aren't earning money, they sort of had millions of views on YouTube, like Emily's Away and No Players Online. But for everyone else, they've maybe had a couple of hundred people play their game ever. Maybe 1,000. Like they simply are not seen as much as they deserve to be. And so for them, the idea that, I mean, part of my pitch was, you know, they get paid obviously, and then you get the game physically preserved. You get a copy of it. They go to 2 museums. Everything we release goes to the Museum of Play in the US and the Computer History Museum in Cambridge, UK. So your game is going to be in a museum, and it's just like every little detail about it. They were just like, oh. We had to get the package PEGI rated, like we had to get an age rating on, which I was like, oh no, it's going to be a huge nuisance. But it turned out that the developers loved that.
I guess like, it's like a seal of approval for them, isn't it?
Exactly. It's just very validating. It's just, my game's been age rated. It's just very validating. It makes it feel a bit more real. I hope that they really loved the whole process. I mean, I have like a Discord that's just for mixtape developers. And so the whole, because it took about 6 months, probably from the time that it first started to the time it's been in your hands. And so that whole time I was taking screenshots of whiteboard plans and I sent them everything. So they were really in the loop and they were really excited the whole time. Yeah, it was a great process.
You kind of already touched on this, but you said they're all going to kind of be a mix of different genres. But will we ever see, like, I don't know whether you can talk about this or not, like certain sets or certain specific sort of mixtapes about a certain type of game or a certain theme, possibly?
Yeah. So
or do you want to keep them all open like these ones? Like
so I think the formula is always going to be the volumes, so varied volumes. So the plan from the very beginning was 3 to 4 volumes. If this works out, if there's an audience for it, 3 to 4 volumes a year, which hopefully we will have next year, about 3 to 4 volumes. And then space those out about roughly every 3 months. So maybe, you know, like February, May, August, November, repeat, something like that. And maybe some years we might like replace one of those. This is just an idea. I don't know whether it will happen yet, but maybe, you know, for volume 5 or whatever, 4 or 5 that's next year. If it lands in sort of Christmas time, then it's a Christmas themed one. We just have all Christmas themed indie games. Or if it's Halloween, maybe it'll be horror ones. Maybe we can have an LGBT themed one. Maybe we can, or maybe we do genres. Maybe it's just like, oh, here's the shmup volume. And then we could, in theory, like sort of re-include like older ones from other volumes as well that we might have missed. If we're going to do genres, it could be, oh, there's the shmup one. Let's take a few of the shmup games from previous volumes and other ones that haven't been in previous.
Sounds like you've got loads of ideas. It's going to be difficult to decide which ones to go with.
Yeah, I mean, I literally have a huge spreadsheet currently of just games I want to include. And it's hundreds. My hard drive has like 40, 50,000 games from the scene. So I'm never going to run out. I could do volumes to the day I die. Obviously, volume 1 has already sold out, but please head to itch.io and just check them out individually anyway. Those games are freeware. They're already free to play. I would hate anyone to miss out on these awesome games just because the physical edition's gone. And then just look out for volume 2 if you do want a physical version of cool games.
Will they all be the same amount of limited copies? I think there was 2,000. Was it for this one?
Yeah, so that was 2,000. I don't think it's decided yet. It's always going to be limited in some way. I think the next one will probably be 2,000 to 3,000, somewhere in that bracket.
As soon as it gets announced on Twitter, go to the website and hit refresh like I was to get this one. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Ryan. Really appreciate that.
Thanks very much.
And like you said, they're all on itch.io, and I'll put links in the description to every game that's on here as well.
Ooh,
so you can go
lovely.
and play them for yourself. So thank you so much for answering those questions, Ryan. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on this video and share your passion with everyone here. One thing that I really love is the cover art. They actually mimicked the Smash Bros. Brawl cover, as you can see there, and it's one of my favourite covers of all time, the special edition that came out in the UK, and I think they did a great job recreating that with all of the different games that are on this collection on the front cover itself. And also inside you have a really nice instruction booklet, kind of, with a bit of a description about each game and why they were chosen to be part of the collection as well. So I absolutely love that. The whole thing is a really nice package, to be honest. So, some of the games that really stood out for me, the first one was called Mini Falfel Adventure, and this one was a really nice Game Boy style platformer. I really loved the graphics in this one. I also thought that the controls were really nice, and the way the levels were laid out was really good as well. It gave you a good reason to explore and come back with different abilities, which is what every good game should do, really. The next one I really loved was a game called Echoes Plus, and if you've ever played Geometry Wars, this will be right up your street. Apparently this one came out on the Xbox 360 back in the day, but I never played it on there, so I'm really happy to be able to have the chance to play it today. The third one here, and I thought this was a really fun game, this one's called Greetings, and what you have to do in this one is try and give secret handshakes to people who are on this party on the top of the roof. I think it is such a unique idea, and that is exactly the kind of game that this collection really tries to push to the forefront, is these really unique ideas. Guardian Sphere was another one of my favourite games that I played on here. This one is a vertical scrolling shooter with really nice pixel art graphics. I'm actually really surprised that this game hasn't come out on anything else. I think it would do really well if it came out on the Switch. So if the developer is watching this, I'm sure you've heard it many times already, but it would be great to see this game on a console at some point in the future. Kiwi 64 was another really cool one. Of course, the idea behind this game was to try and make an N64 style platformer, and I think they pulled it off really well. Missed Messages was a really nice atmospheric visual novel style game. I love the atmosphere in this one. I didn't play it for too long, but it's definitely one that I think I'm going to go back to and play some more of in the future. Pearl Grabber was a really nice, simple game where you're exploring this beach-like area, trying to find pearls within the clams. That's all the entire game's about, but I thought it was a really unique premise, with its really, really lovely art style and music as well. It's such a fascinating little game, and it's exactly the kind of game that I would love to see more of on these collections. Secret Tea Garden was something completely different. This one was kind of like Overcooked meets Zelda, on a top-down sort of perspective, on a really small, almost Pico 8 style grid. It was such a fun little game, and it's definitely something really unique. Even with all the other unique games on this collection, that one really stood out to me. Two Timing Towers was the winner of Game Maker Toolkit's Game Jam, and you can see why it won. It beat out over 5,000 other games to take the #1 spot, and it is such a good game. It's a mix of a bullet hell game and a tower defense game, and the developer pulled it off spectacularly. This is probably the best game on the collection in my opinion. And the last game is another visual novel style game with a really nice atmospheric and emotional feel to it. This one's called You Left Me, and like I said about the other visual novel, this is one that I would really like to go back to in the future and put a lot more time into. And now for some of my favourite demos. I really loved the demo for Billy Bust Up. I thought it was a fantastic idea that the devs actually let you run around one of the prototype environments. I always love seeing these prototype stages in games, so to be able to actually run around one for myself was a fantastic experience. Grapple Dog was another game that I think is going to do really well when it comes out. I love the movement in this game and I love the graphics, and I can't wait to play the full thing. And finally, Skatebird. Of course, everyone who's watching this probably knows about this game, and it definitely lived up to all of the expectations that I had for it. It really is just Tony Hawk's with really cute birds, and a really good graphics and gameplay engine to go along with it. So if you like the look of any of those games on the collection and you want to play them for yourselves, click on the link in the description to go to my itch.io page. I've actually made a collection here of all the games from the Super Rare mixtape, so if you click on that, you can actually play every single game that was on the USB stick. They're all there. Go and support all of the developers. I actually followed each one of them after I played all their games, and I think they are all fantastic in their own way. I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed putting it together. I really did have a blast with this one. So if you picked up this collection, let me know what some of your favourite games were on it. Let me and Ryan know as well what kind of games you'd like to see in future volumes as well.